En même temps, l'explication ne s'allie à la l'expiation irritant la trachée, excitant la salive. Cette opération exige un très haut degré de qualité dans la résolution et par là même rendre
Monsieur le professeur, voici l'heure.
Quand il était à Genève, ce général Bonaparte a reçu la visite d'un obscur savant. Ça commence bien. Obscur savant qui essayait de le convertir à votre philosophie.
convertir.
Convertir, sans succès. Mais à Lausanne, agacé peut-être, il rend visite à un philosophe local pour lui demander un panorama du sentiment suisse quant à la philosophie kantienne.
À quoi tout cela peut-il lui servir?
On n'y comprend rien, résume le Suisse. Bonaparte.
I'm just showing a couple of scenes so you get the idea. Not sure when it was made. That's some of the grounds around the University of Königsberg, or at least it's supposed to be. It's probably someplace else actually for the film, probably in France.
Vous allez lui répondre? Oui. Ils me retiennent. Je ne dois pas mourir en raison des tourments que la vie m'inflige, mais je dois vivre au contraire en raison de mon existence. Mettez-vous donc à ma place, ou condamnez-moi. J'ai lu à la fois la métaphysique des mœurs et l'impératif catégorique. Rien n'y fait. Ma raison m'abandonne, alors que j'en ai le plus grand besoin. Je t'en conjure, réponds-moi, ou alors tu es incapable d'agir toi-même selon l'impératif que tu as mis en place. Vous allez lui répondre? Oui.
You get the idea. So it's out there. It's about an hour and 10 minutes long if you want to watch it. So, interesting. So notice Kant lived almost 80 years. April is his birthday, and it will be his 300th anniversary, or 300th anniversary of his birthday. This April 20th, I think, something like that. But he never left Königsberg, which, by the way, today is Kaliningrad. In fact, it's the city that is part of Russia, but isn't connected to Russia. So it's been in the news a lot because of the nature of the corridor and the stressfulness of things traveling from Russia to the city, going through, I think, Latvia, not sure. In any case, why is he so important? Remember last class we were talking about how David Hume questioned how metaphysics could even be possible because of the nature of any of the metaphysical theories being essentially untestable. In the sense they were a priori, but also meant to be synthetic. So that's can you have a synthetic a priori? Seems like you can't. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to be funny on that. In a way, it seems David Hume is just the opposite of Descartes. So if you remember, Descartes, as a rationalist, starts off by thinking that you cannot deny that you exist. Seems like he's right, at least for a momentary moment, that you can't deny. Who's doubting that I exist? Well, it must be me, so I must exist, at least as a thinking thing, as far as Descartes is concerned. Hume takes the British empiricist point of view that the only thing you can absolutely know for sure is what you're sensing this moment. And that's not just our physical senses, but also even our thoughts, right? So you know what you're thinking this moment. Like Descartes, I think, therefore I am. And in a way, you could see Hume is absolutely right as well, because the only thing you really absolutely know at the moment is what your mind is perceiving. And so Descartes is right because of what Hume is saying. Right? I'm absolutely sure I'm thinking that I exist. That's a perception, right? So Hume is in a sense, the empiricist, whereas Descartes is the rationalist. Remember, we had other rationalists. The only ones we really looked at were Spinoza and Leibniz, right? And when we look at the empiricists, we've looked at Hume, but we looked at Berkeley and we looked at Locke. I'm still confused about why Hobbes isn't one. But the part of the fame of Kant is that he merges these two traditions in his new philosophy, which is sparked by David Hume's text, where he puts into question the possibility of metaphysics. It wakes Kant from his Wolffian slumbers, or his rationalist slumbers. Wolff was the rationalist that had kind of systematized Leibniz's philosophy. So Kant is basically studying Leibniz through Christian Wolff. That's the reference, right? We don't think of Wolff as having especially anything new to add to Leibniz, except putting Leibniz together in an easier to understand system. And so Kant basically grows up as a child prodigy, pretty clearly, goes to school early, gets his degree, tutors for a while, and then comes back as a professor at the university, gradually increasing his teaching load to covering all kinds of subjects. And in his 50s, finally blossoming into a absolutely famous philosopher because of his reaction to David Hume. He was fairly famous locally, at least, before that, because he had been writing before that other books like on the nature of the planets and so on. He was influenced by Sir Isaac Newton, so he's writing about things like the way the world rotates and all that. He came up with an idea trying to explain why there were earthquakes. He was wrong about it, but it was the first time that someone apparently tried to come up with a physical explanation of why there were earthquakes instead of it being kind of a sign from God, that God was upset with people or something. Instead, he was trying to figure out a physical earth explanation for it. He was also very much into geography and writing about geography and things like that. So he was pretty well interested in lots of things. Logic was an important part for him. In fact, some consider his whole philosophy to be based on his logic in the first place. So that's kind of interesting. But so the big issue here is, how do you get around the problem of our empirical experience not enabling us to know the object that gives us that experience? We only can know our own perception. And by the way, I don't think anyone really disagrees with that, basically, still today, that all we're really knowing our perceptions. But is that the limit of the human mind? Is it the case that we only have what Locke called a tabula rasa at birth? And the rationalists have to counter that. They have to find some way of showing that no, there's something about the human mind that enables us to structure our experience. Now, up until this point, from Aristotle on, the attempt has been to find something in the world, objective reality, that structures the way that objective reality is. So the categories of Aristotle are the categories of the nature of things. Things have those categories. What Kant does, he transcends. So this is a transcendental philosophy, right? He transcends the limit that Hume imposes with his question and realizes that what we have to do is get outside of the limit of our phenomenal experience, what we're experiencing in our minds and senses, which are part of our minds, right? We can transcend that limitation and say, what must be the case in order for us to actually have those experiences? We can get over it, right? And figure out what must be the case. And the first thing that becomes obvious, I put all my devices here. The first thing that must be the case, if we assume that there is phenomena, that's what we're experiencing. By the way, phane, the Greek root for this, phane, is a lantern. It means lantern, or like a flashlight. And so in a sense, when you're experiencing phenomena, it's just like when you're in a dark place and you have a lantern with you, that you're lighting up what you can see in the environment. So our phenomena that we're experiencing is a result of our own lantern, so to speak, right? Our own senses that enable us to have these experiences. We bring the lantern ourselves to our experience, right? So we're experiencing phenomena. What must be the case for us to have such experience? Well, there must be an us. I don't know if you can see that. There has to be an ego. You see ego over here? Or is that cut off? Okay. So ego. There has to be an ego over here for us to have experience. That's Descartes, right? It has to be a thinking self in order for us to have any